everybody and their neighbor. You're back with Jetstone and Gear and Gigs. So glad you guys could stop by today. It's kind of a special show. It's just me and Trey in the studio. Well, two separate studios, doing some social distancing and coming to you guys to talk a little bit about offset guitars today, a topic that is super near and dear to Trey's heart. So he is going to be running the show, so to speak, and I'm just planning on being comedic relief. So welcome, Trey. Welcome back, as always.
I mean, you got to start being comedic at this point.
The pressure is too much.
Yeah. Up until this point, never been funny. Now's the time.
All right, knock, knock.
Who's there?
Deja.
No.
You're not supposed to run it ahead in your brain and get to the end, man. You're supposed to let it flow.
I know.
All right, so we've got a limited time today compared to some of our longer-winded shows. So we're going to let Trey dive right into offsets. As you can see if you're watching the video, he's got a couple on either side of his head. It's like the Brady Bunch, you and the offsets.
So, yeah, I mean, anybody that knows me pretty well knows that this is kind of a passion of mine. And I don't know when it happened. I just woke up one day and decided that they were not the ugliest things in the world and that I loved them very much.
Ah.
You know, played Les Pauls and Super Strats and everything for years. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's because they're so ugly that I love it, or maybe it's because they're a bigger body and I'm not quite as svelte as I used to be, and it hides it a little bit, and I love them. They're way more comfortable than any other guitar that I've played, which was kind of the design idea behind it in the first place.
It was,
Leo
yeah.
Fender wanted to do.
Yeah. Do you have heroes that play offsets that you're emulating in your mind or anything? Or
I mean, the first time I saw an artist that I like play a Jazzmaster was the guitar player from Incubus, Mike Einzer. I know I'm butchering that last name, but the album that they did that was kind of a departure from the normal formula and everything, A Crow Left of the Murder. He used a Jazzmaster on that and the follow-up album for that. And I just thought it was cool looking. It didn't really, that's not when I picked it up as kind of the thing that I liked, but I remember seeing that and going, oh man, that's kind of cool. And I'll file that away for later. But other than that, not really.
it just suits you ergonomically, huh? And you think they're cool, but
it just kind of was a way for me to find my own voice and in guitar. And definitely the first time I picked up a Jazzmaster, it was the first time I went, oh man, that's kind of what I've been looking for, even though I didn't really know that that's what I wanted. So I found what I like, and so I dug in super deep, as I do with things that I like, and just kind of went down the rabbit holes as far as I could go. And I love the Fender offerings, the Jaguar Jazzmaster and Duosonic, even some of the lesser known ones like the what was it called?
I don't know because it's lesser known.
Oh man. They had two humbuckers, which is, kind of a taboo thing to Jazzmaster and offset purists, but Tornado.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah. And then later the Starcaster Semi-Hollow was also an offset.
I like those real well.
Which a bunch of different manufacturers kind of do a variation of different offsets. But in case people don't know what makes an offset or what doesn't, because there's, the internet can be kind of a persnickety place, but technically an offset is where the waist of the guitar is at an angle. So if you're looking at a guitar like the one behind me, if you draw a line between the waist, it's actually angled. It's not completely perpendicular to the main kind of cross-section of the guitar. So, things like Jazzmasters, Jaguars, are things like the Gibson Firebird is not technically, even though the angles are kind of wide, it's not technically an offset.
So it's not the outline, just to be clear, it's
Right.
waist position and whether or not it's horizontal or vertical, depending on how you're holding the guitar.
Right. And I mean, it can be subtle or it can be, drastic and exaggerated. It just depends on the model. We will be doing a severely in-depth Fender dive on offsets at some point in another show. But for the sake of time today, just wanted to kind of go over the basics of everything, why I care, and why you should care. The Jazzmaster was designed to kind of replace the Strat in Fender's line. It just didn't take off like that. And so, in the early 90s, everybody started picking them up because they were cheap. And guys like Kurt Cobain, Sonic Youth, a lot of the grunge era guys kind of made them super popular again. And now it's kind of a big deal again. You can't get them for super cheap like you could even really probably 5-10 years ago. Everybody kind of is hip to it again and really likes it. But so today I wanted to go over, Fender is awesome and I like them. Obviously I have one. But there's a ton of really awesome offset alternatives on the market. So I wanted to go over my top 5 and kind of discuss specs and different things that some of these manufacturers offer.
Top 5 non-Fender offsets.
Yes.
All right.
So the first one I want to bring up is if you're familiar with a Jazzmaster, it's kind of big and 25.5-inch scale versus a Jaguar that's same body size, but a 24-inch scale like the Duosonic. But one of the manufacturers that kind of took the design and shrunk it just a little bit and made it more ergonomic in their design ideas was Tom Anderson with the Raven.
Oh yeah.
You're a Tom Anderson fan. We sell them at the Guitar Sanctuary. They're awesome guitars, and you can do pretty much whatever you want option-wise with them. Mm-hmm. So for offset purists, it's definitely not the super traditional Jazzmaster in form so much as just the general aesthetic design to it. So you can do humbuckers, P90s, combinations of, you can do a hardtail, you can do a Strat style bridge, and he just released what he considers an offset tremolo system that is kind of his take on the traditional Fender offset tremolo, like on the Jazzmaster and Jaguar. Tom Anderson guitars are completely custom. They don't do a stock version of anything.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Everything is completely customizable. You don't have to do any specific thing. I mean, the only difference would be a Raven Superbird is an all mahogany body and mahogany neck and a Les Paul scale 24 3/4, and a regular Raven is a 25.5-inch scale alder body standard. But you can do whatever you want within those two things. It's more just a way for them to categorize based on the build style that you're going for as to what they're going to do scale lengthwise.
And just to be clear, the original Fenders, like the Jazzmasters, are 25.5.
Yeah.
The Duosonics and the Mustangs and that kind of stuff were 24.
Right. So the Raven Superbird is kind of like an SG, in an offset body.
Interesting.
Really, when it comes down
mahogany, to it. Sure, yeah.
So those are awesome. They do some really cool stuff with wiring, and if you are into Andersons already and wanting to foray into something that's not as traditional, really, really cool options that you have to do for tones and things that you can't, well, I guess you can, but it's a better way to go about it a lot of times with, especially with P90s or humbucker and P90 combinations. Mm-hmm. There's just something about them that sounds really, really cool in a way that, a Les Paul Jr. might, but it doesn't feel as special to me for some reason as when you do it in an offset.
So an offset has a sense of occasion for you, a sense of theater a little bit.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Well, it's a non-traditional. I mean, it's what was picked up by guys that didn't want to play a Strat or didn't want to play a Tele.
So it's the anti-establishmentism sort of that you like, part of the rebellion aspect of it a little bit.
I think that for me, I mean, yes, to a degree, but it's more so the happy accident of that anti-establishment was the community that it created.
Okay.
People that love these instruments. So it's less that I'm trying to rebel against or run from an establishment, and more that I'm trying to run to the community that exists.
That's cool. Sure.
Especially online with Instagram and a lot of the forums and things. There's so many great people out there that just love these instruments in a way that you don't necessarily hear about with Strats, because everybody loves Strats.
Right.
It's not like you have to have a secret handshake to love a Strat, but with jazz masters or other offsets and things, there's this kind of unspoken, you got to really, really like them to want to dedicate the time and effort into understanding how they work and all the different options that they have and things like that.
If I was going to liken that to cars, because I've got a big interest in cars, it's kind of like if you're into Porsches, it's real easy to talk about the 911. Only a select group talk about the 914 and have the enthusiasm for the 914 because it's kind of quirky. It's kind of like the offset Porsche, so to speak. So that's interesting. That clears that up for me, because I've often wondered what the appeal is if you're not feeling particularly rebellious, but to join a bunch of enthusiasts with a love for something that's quirky or unique. I get that.
Yeah. So
that's why we love you.
Do what?
That's why we love you.
Oh, thanks. So the next one that's kind of in the same custom nature is the JM from Suhr.
Oh yeah, I like that one a lot.
Which is, I mean, again, Suhr guitars are phenomenal. Their build quality and custom options are fantastic, but they do offer more of a stock option for the player that goes, yeah, this would be cool to get into, but I really don't know enough about what I want to jump into a full custom build. You still can with Suhr, but they give the JM Classic and everything that comes in humbucker configurations or P90s, string through body or Strat bridge. And then they have been known to do custom jobs with traditional jazz master bridges as well, and tremolos. Super
big thing, the tremolo, non-tremolo, and what kind of tremolo. That's a big thing in that community too, isn't it?
Huge. I mean, so part of what makes it special is the break angle of that traditional jazz master tremolo. There's a feel, kind of a sponginess that you get with that you don't get with other types of bridges.
It is a very floaty trem in general. I mean, one is...
It's very fluid and doesn't require a lot of pressure, even if you're playing a 25 and a half. I found that when I played my jazz masters, when I've had them, it can be a little off-putting if you're used to playing something else at first. But again, if it's the sound that you like and it's worth putting in the time to fall in love with the instrument, it's hard not to. So that's kind of something that people have brought up before, like, oh, well, if it doesn't have that tremolo, is it really truly an offset? Even if it has the offset body design, is it really that?
Well, since you have one of each behind you, I'm going to be very interested in your answer.
I mean, there are things that I love about both. I love the body shape kind of above everything else. It depends on the style that I'm doing. The Fender that I have to my left, I do a lot of more articulate and nuanced kind of things with that, because it's what I use for a lot of worship and fill-in gigs. So it's a little more... I can make it into whatever I need it to be. Okay. Whereas the Balaguer to my right, which I'll go over at some point, is definitely more typecast and designed for a very specific purpose, which is what I play in one of the bands that I play with. So it's more, well, it's a pointed instrument, not instrument in musical instrument terms. It's very specific as far as what I use it for, versus something like the Jaguar that I have that's a little more open-ended. Okay.
Which is, I guess you're considering it to be a harder rock instrument then?
It can be. I mean, that's what I designed this particular one for. The hardtail aspect doesn't necessarily pigeonhole you into that, but if you have a Carina body with humbuckers with a hardtail, it's certainly going to lend itself more towards that style.
Well, that's a Carina body. Mm-hmm. Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Carina body with roasted maple fingerboard and
Nice. Well, it's a beautiful guitar. I've played both of them, and they both play very nice, but they are quite different.
Yeah, and really the main, comparison between the two is the fact that they are offsets.
Right.
But beyond that, they're very, very nuanced in their own way.
Okay, so we've got Anderson and Sir as two of the top five. I'm assuming Balaguer is going to make the cut.
They are. I might be saving the best for last.
I see. Sorry, didn't mean to jump ahead there.
That's all right. So the next one I want to talk about is a company called Bilt, B-I-L-T. And they are really, really cool and design offsets based on some of the less traditional Fender designs.
Okay.
So their offsets are kind of a little more wonky as far as if you're looking at them next to a Jazzmaster, you go, well, that took a design that's kind of different and made it even a little more different.
Okay.
And if you've ever seen any of the Bilts, they do kind of like Anderson, they'll do pretty much anything. It's really, really cool. They use a lot of the metal plating, like what's on a Jaguar, to kind of have your control options and things like that. Josh from JHS has a really, really cool, I believe it's a Revelator that he uses in a lot of his demo videos that they built for him and his kind of signature white and red color combo. But really, really cool instruments. The two that are the ones that I have kind of always had my eye on are the Zaftig, which is like it's a semi-hollow offset.
Do they have a trim or is it a?
Yes.
Oh, okay, nice.
Which they'll do again, pretty much whatever you want. Most of them that I have seen are either mastery tremolo or like a Les Paul hardtail two-piece.
And for those of you that don't know about Mastery, they're pretty much top of the rock as far as those style Jazzmaster tremolos, right?
Yeah, I mean they're putting a Mastery on, an offset guitar in particular completely changes the way it sounds and plays for the better. It's night and day. I've never, even people that aren't as well versed in these kind of instruments, I'll hand them the guitar before I put the Mastery on, and they'll go, "Okay, cool." And then I put the Mastery on, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is like a whole new instrument." It's one of the most incredible things you can do to a guitar. They make pieces for other instruments or other types of guitars like Tellys and things like that, but the offset bridge was kind of the reason for the season, because the original offset bridge was a little quirky. Because of the design idea, which we'll talk about in the Fender exclusive show. But
Master, so it's two sections really, right? There's the tremolo section, then there's the actual bridge with the saddles, and each one acts as an improvement, I assume. When I've looked at the Mastery stuff, in fact, I think I've got Mastery on the Paler, right? I think Mastery, and my Lord, it's like a Swiss watch as far as how well that's machined. It's spectacular.
And it's so smooth. It's smoother than any other tremolo I've played.
On an already smooth system.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the system in and of itself is designed to be pretty smooth, and it just takes it to that next tier. But you can get those on pretty much all of these I've seen, except for Anderson. You can get the Mastery on.
Anderson does their own, I think, don't they?
Yeah, Anderson has their own.
Okay, so that's Bilt is number 3.
So yeah, so Bilt, check those out. Definitely, they're really, really cool, and their designs are they're neat. They're fun to look at. As someone who likes looking at guitars, and I know you're the same kind of person.
What?
Oh. But check out their Instagram or check out their website.
I foresee a problem though. Let's say, I ordered one, right? I spec'd it all out and I got it done and I got it. And I called you and said, "Man, I just got a new guitar. What'd you get?" "Oh man, I got it custom built." "Yeah, what is it?" See, it's confusing.
How do you mean?
A custom built. "Yeah. What is it?" "It's a custom built." "A custom built what?" "It's a custom built." "A custom built what?" See, that could go on for 10 minutes.
Well, you don't have subtitles turned on in your life.
Yeah, otherwise I'd see the difference in spells.
That was your first mistake. You're watching dub instead of sub.
I'm sorry. My apologies.
Yeah.
Apologies. All right, so Bilt number 3. So we got Anderson, Sir, and Bilt.
So the fourth of my favorites would be Cower guitars.
Oh, yeah.
Which I know you also have somewhat of an affinity for, so I wanted to save that one.
The Banshee, right?
They have a couple different that they've done over the years. The Banshee is actually their kind of Firebird-esque
Oh,
design. So it's not technically
an offset then, right? Because it's got to be the waist at an angle.
right.
Right. My apologies to the
Oh,
Mr.
no, it's fine. I understand.
So what?
We all have to learn.
That's why you're here. So,
Here.
so what cowers are the offsets?
So the Argonaut, the Daylighter, and oh no,
The Ono.
no, I got this. I'm gonna have to look my cheat sheet.
Hold all tickets.
The Arcturus.
Arcturus. Well, I can see where you had trouble with that.
Yeah, I knew. I was like, man, it's Arcturus or something like that.
Arcturus.
Yeah.
Okay.
So cool names for cool guitars. The one that I showed you a while ago basically looks like a Gretsch. Semi-hollow.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
But it's an offset. And I saw one today that had a mastery on it in that same design. So they do really, really cool designs that are still customizable, but the whole difference between something like them and a built looks like you choose specs and you kind of put it together, and it looks a little more industrial.
Okay.
Like you're putting pieces together, and it looks like an old, modded Fender.
Okay.
In the best way.
Right.
Like, as if, one of the guys from Sonic Youth got a hold of one and started just throwing things in that he thought was cool.
Right.
And there's a beauty in that kind of chaos with those. Cower's kind of the other way around. They're looking at it as a general design that it's very, very intentional. All of the angles and everything are carefully chosen. And from the start, it's not, okay, well, I want to do, a Daylighter, but I want to have it with Gretsch style pickups, but not have any of the rest of it, be anything like that. There's a design element to Cowers that's really, really cool. And I really, really like Cowers kind of take on things because it feels very deliberate,
right,
design wise, which I appreciate.
Man, they're so well made too. Holy cow. I mean, we're talking about some nice manufacturers, but wow.
I don't see many that look completely alike. Like builds, like they have some that are just kind of different colors and same spec choices, but the Cowers usually look pretty distinctively individualistic, which is really, really cool.
Now, as we're talking about these, what kind of price points are we looking at? What kind of ranges? I mean, obviously Anderson and Suhrs, those are $2,000 to $4,000 in general.
So yeah, the Suhrs, I believe, are in the two, almost $3 category.
Okay.
Ravens are a little north of $3 typically from Anderson.
And depending on how custom you want to get, obviously it can go.
Right. Well, for sure. Cower are in the 3,500 plus category.
Okay.
Builds completely depend on what you want to put in it, anywhere from like 25 to $5,000.
Okay. Wow.
Finish and everything obviously is going to account for some of that. But yeah, I mean, a lot of these are being built at very, very small capacities, and are.
Suhr is comparable to Anderson in price, basically.
Which ones?
Suhr,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're pretty much the same kind of ballpark. The stock ones, or not stock, but kind of origin idea of each model from Suhr are a little less, than any of the custom ones by anywhere from $5,000 to $1,000.
Now, it's interesting that part of the appeal, and in fact, you mentioned it, I think, at the beginning, part of the appeal of these guitars was the original Fenders was they're inexpensive. And then when they came on the used market, they were even more inexpensive. So people were more likely to buy a bunch of pedals, would buy one of these guitars, and that would be their setup. And now your favorite ones are actually more like Les Paul pricing or Stratocaster price, really high-end stuff. But nonetheless, the quality of between a basic Fender and a Cower is night and day.
Oh, for sure. And that kind of brings me into my absolute favorite of the offset offerings, not just because of the way that they sound and the way they play, but because of the actual options you can get and the general price point that you can get it at, which is the Balaguer.
The Balaguer, yeah. You have to whip out a little disclaimer, though.
Yeah. I am a Balaguer endorsee, which was, by design, because they're what I preferred to play.
Right.
I could have sent emails to any number of people, but Balaguer checked all the boxes for me. Honestly, the thing that attracted me to them the most was that it was all of the things that I fell in love with about offsets later in life, with some of the spec choices and general build philosophies of some of the old shred guitars that I kind of came up playing, like Ibanez and things like that. I mean, the first time I picked up my growler, which is one of like the pink one behind me, it was like, man, it's like having one of my old Ibanez again that I missed to a degree, but it's like the adult version of what I used to play,
right.
Which was really, really cool.
So it marries some of that that modern kind of player's guitar sensibilities with the offset kind of attitude.
Right.
I played that one. It's a spectacular guitar.
So Balaguer offers two offsets at this point: the Growler, which is the original, which is the more traditional looking kind of jazz mastery design, and then the Espada, which is you'd have to look at it to kind of see the differences when they're together. It has a big, kind of scoop out for the forearm, and is a little more squished. It's not quite as exaggerated in its angle. Don't
use the technical jargon, man.
It's what I got to do.
That's what Leo Fender, he'd run into the factory. We need to squish it. Just squish it. People would just know.
I feel like he could have people trained well enough to know what he was talking. He's like, he wants it squished. All right, that's.
Oh man, you squished it. Oh no.
But it's cool. I have another one of those in the build queue currently. One of the Espadas to do.
Nice.
To have kind of the best of both worlds. But
what color did you go with? I'm just curious.
Lake Placid Blue Sparkle.
Oh man, that hits me so hard. It does. One of my favorite colors in the world, and I'm such a sparkle hound. Well, that's what I call.
Which, of course, this was a reveal to Jet without anyone else.
Yeah, I didn't know. Wow, that's going to be beautiful.
Yeah. So I'll send you pictures later.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the what I other than the playability and things, if you go online to their website, you can actually hop on their custom builder and choose all of your custom options for the instrument and the price points. I mean, I have built some pretty ridiculous things on the builder, and it's visual, so you get to see it.
Oh, nice.
And I don't think I've capped past 3. Wow. The average build that I've put together has been somewhere between 15 and 2,000.
Wow.
Which, for the build quality and quality control, I mean, that's part of what attracted me to them, because I'm not playing my guitars in a controlled environment a lot of times. I'm on stage, on the road, throwing them around. I play heavy music, and I'm not gentle with my instruments. So, taking a $4,000 guitar out on the road, although it might be cool, I'm going to be slightly concerned that I'm going to destroy this stuff. And to have something like Balaguer, where it's not something that I had to sell a kidney for, but it still feels like I did.
Right. Well, it doesn't.
But there's not this mental block behind, oh my gosh, if something happens to it, I'm done. And quite honestly, if something happened to one of my Balaguers in the field, as it were, the going back to the community aspect, the community is so cool. I'm pretty sure that I could hit up Joe and be like, please help me. I've had a terrible accident and I need your help.
Well, I played that one and I didn't know how much it cost. And if you had told me, this thing was $4,700, I'd be like, okay, it feels great. It's great sound. Nothing wrong with that. So not that I'm telling him to raise his prices, but it in no way felt compromised. It was a great instrument in all respects.
Right. But so they, for the traditionalists, they actually just added Jazzmaster pickups to the options. That was the one thing as a lover of traditional offsets, I've been kind of waiting for with bated breath. You could do P90s and things like that, but having actual Jazzmaster pickups on there now is cool. I've spent way too much time just building things just for the sake of future gas and things like that. So
The actual size, are they humbucker sized or are they full size?
I don't know. They're actually full size.
Oh yeah.
Option wise.
There's something cool about having those big flat pickups under there. I don't know what it is, but it's just something about it. It's like when you get a 3 pickup Les Paul, a black one with the 3 humbuckers lined up, and it's like, I don't know if I really want to play it, but God, it's cool. It's cool looking. And the Jazzmaster pickups it's got an attraction. Maybe it's the bigger size body. They seem in scale with it somehow. I don't know. I really like it.
And I mean, it's the whole design behind the original Jazzmaster pickup is it's like a Strat pickup is deep and the windings go, up and down, whereas a Jazzmaster pickup is flat and the windings go out away from the pole pieces as opposed to up and down.
Interesting.
So the gain structure and its general kind of airiness and feel is completely different than like a Strat pickup or another kind of single coil. And it's not really a P90 either, because P90 is one big magnet. So it's kind of a cross between the two that creates this really interesting sound. That's what originally attracted me to those from Strats and Tellys.
It's got a big bottom warmth to it, but yet it's still got a lot of that crystalline high stuff and the glassiness. It's a sweet combination.
For sure. I mean, I love having a humbucker in the bridge, and most of my ones that I have designed are typically a humbucker in the bridge and a P90 in the neck, or a humbucker in the bridge and a Jazzmaster pickup in the neck, or a Telly pickup in the neck. So that's the neck is where I get my kicks for the different complex tones, and the bridge is almost always a humbucker for my personal choices and things. But I know that would upset a lot of purists, but it's just what I found works for me. And again, that's part of why I like the Balaguer so much, is because it's a regular option that you can do without any real redesign or grief from their side of things. So you just go, okay, that's what you want. Cool. Let's do it.
All right. So Trey's top 5 offsets, because I know we promised we'd make this a short one.
Yes.
Trey's top 5 offsets in reverse order are Anderson, Sir, Built, Cower, and Top of the Rock Balaguer.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I hope you all enjoyed hearing Trey wax philosophical about his love for offsets. And next time, let's do a longer episode where we talk about the history of the fenders and where they started from. And then some of the other ones that are out there, like we've touched on a little bit, the Paler and the Fanos and some of the other ones out there too.
For sure.
All right. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us on Gear and Gigs. I'm Jet Stone.
And I'm Trey.
Take care. Thanks, everybody, for joining us for another episode of Gear and Gigs. Please take a moment to like and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to check us out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and, of course, YouTube. Until next time, this is Jet Stone saying, take it easy.